What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the DGD podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds. That's your guy, Caleb, over there. A lot of news, right? Saturday, first scrimmage. We're gonna recap that. The AP, the initial preseason AP poll dropped earlier this afternoon around lunchtime. We're gonna talk about that. Dawgs coming in at 4. And we're also making making an announcement for the show tonight at the end of the show. So make sure you're sticking around. But before we start, make sure to like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, rate us and review us on your audio, wherever you get it, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you're doing that. It's free and it helps us out. Caleb. Saturday scrimmage, first scrimmage, obviously. Excited as hell about that. Excuse me. Hearing what happened Saturday, I know we've got the second one coming up, but there's a lot of good things coming out of that first scrimmage. Overall, what are your thoughts before we break it down?
Well, really, it was exciting to finally read about some of the boys and what they did. The name I kept hearing a lot was the JJ the German. They said he went off. That was
JJ
one name I wanted.
yeah.
That's one of the names I wanted to mention. But overall, I think we had a good scrimmage, and luckily, no big injuries. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing for sure. No injuries. You got Fox Mulder, Dan Funk, Brad Pitt in the chat. Make sure to say good evening, gentlemen. You talked about JJ Hane, right? And I thought it was interesting to see him wearing the blue cap, right? We've talked about that before on the show. But I think another thing, though, if you're really kind of interested, I think the main takeaway for me was just how dominant the defense was. And I'm looking at, if I'm starting right here, I'm looking at Kristen Miller. It sounded like there was times where he just couldn't be guarded.
And that's a big thing. Like we were saying this last week, where we hope to hear big things out of the D line, and we just named 2 right off the rip off the D line. Yeah, so sure. I mean, Kristen Miller, if he stays healthy, he's going to be an animal anyway.
No, I agree. I think it's another thing too. Is like one of the things with these scrimmages, when you hear something good, it also makes you question if something's bad. There's always that counterbalance, right? So it sounded like at first you had a situation where the defense was just unguardable, getting the most of it, right? And honestly, for a first scrimmage, that's about on par with what you would expect. So it's good to see that, right? But I think you look at the situation, right, with the quarterbacks. I think there was only like one, maybe 2 picks, both threw one. I think Puglisi and Gunner threw one. It sounded like Gunner's was more tipped through the receiver's hands. You know how it kind of tips through your hands or whatnot. But that's also a good sign of defense, right? Capitalizing on those things, right? You had Ellis getting a pick on Puglisi, right, when the 2s went in. And so you had Zion Branch pick off Gunner. So, getting those interceptions, right, that's a big deal, right? Because you want to see those takeaways. You want to see the havoc, right, on defense. But I think another name that, like I said, I just mentioned it, but I do think it's going to be something that we have to be mindful of is, in that safety position, you're looking at a situation where I think Zion Branch could be taken over eventually. If I had to say right now, you're probably looking at Ja'Cory Thomas, and I've been an advocate for him. I want to see him have a really good season. But Zion Branch is a name that's making a lot of plays, and he's sticking around and making plays, and that goes noticed in that secondary room.
Yeah, especially when you have a position battle going on like that right there. It's big to see one of them stepping up, trying to take that role. And it's like we talked about multiple times on the show as well. I don't care who it is, as long as they step up, play the role well, and it's always a good thing.
Yeah, no, I think, obviously we've talked a little bit about the defense right now, right? I think, when you hear about these plays, you got KJ Bolden, right, forcing a series, like a 3-and-out, basically ending the series, right, making tackles from the safety position. That right there is stuff that you wanted to see because we had issues tackling last season. We had issues tackling consistently on defense. And if you're telling me that you can for sure wrap guys up and get them on the ground and in series, stall drives from that, I think that's a huge move moving forward for Georgia's defense, right? That's a huge shot in the arm from what we saw last year, right? I think everybody, me, you, and I'm sure everybody listening and watching are more than eager to get last season's taste out of our mouth. And that's one way to do it. So hearing tackling and, hearing tackling consistently, right? That's a big deal. That's a huge deal, actually. Especially when you look at what Georgia's standard is on defense.
Yeah, for sure.
I think another thing too, and we keep kind of doing like a round robin here, but at the linebacker position, it sounded like Terrell Foster had a nice little day. He had a couple tackles in a series in the hole, right? Keep in mind, he's a walk-on. He's a walk-on, but he's not your typical walk-on, if you will. He's one of those guys that I don't wish bad for anybody, but I wish he would go somewhere, right? Like I wish he would transfer to go somewhere to get the opportunity to start because he would. And I know that he would be a great starter for said team. However, in the contrary, I'm glad he's on our team because we ain't got to go up against it. Just saying. But yeah, Motivated Dedicated says this team reminds him of the 2022 team. Now, I want to pose this question to Motivated here. I want to hear you in the comments say why you say that. And in the meantime, me and Caleb will kind of take this and interpret it and see what we think and see whether we agree or disagree. I think this is an excellent question. Consider that 2021 defense. It felt similar to this when we were talking about that, right? Leading up to the season, it felt that way. Caleb, I'm going to let you start. Do you agree or do you disagree with Motivated's question there, or the comment, I should say, about the team reminding him of the 22 team?
If he's talking about kind of like the build-up going into the season, maybe. Do I think this team's going to be as good as the 2022 team? Not even close, but I still think they're going to be really good. But I can see where he's coming from if he's talking about kind of the build-up, kind of the anticipation, kind of, we're being a little doubted. So yeah, I can see what he means by that. If that's how he's taking it now, as far as X's and O's wise, not really, no.
No, I think I'm gonna be in the middle here, Motivated, say neutral. I'm kind of with Caleb here. I see where you're coming from if you're talking about leading into the season. From a talent perspective, I think defense is not as, when you look in retrospect, that defense is just littered with NFL talent from top to bottom. And it's just today's world. It's not truly 100% feasible and replicated like that. However, if you were to tell me that in the spring that this defense would fill this deep in regards to just the talent around the positions, right, and guys coming into their own and coming into form, I would be happy to hear that. And because I think we had some concerns around the spring in regards to depth at the edge position, right, losing Damon Wilson. How was Georgia going to, lose that production? Because especially when he was expected to be the guy, how is Georgia going to handle that, right? And then you bring in safeties, you bring in offensive guys, right? I just think that the talent is different, but I think the situation could be the same where you've got a group of talented guys that can make things happen. However, obviously the situation is different, right? You've got a insanely tough schedule, even if you have home games compared to the 21 season. And I know we played Clemson and everything, but nonetheless, I'm looking at that schedule. It's a little bit trickier, right? You're just different world. But Motivated did say that it reminds me of the 22 team because they were slept on all off season and Kirby was very quiet. Yeah, really hasn't heard Kirby talk to the media this off season. Yeah, I mean, that part I agree 100%. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I mean, it's funny when you listen to opposing fan bases and other fan bases in general talk about Georgia and how they think that we're just manufacturing doubt, right? Like we saw Nolan Smith, right, the 7-5 comment. Until you hear this offseason where legitimate national media is just doubting Kirby. And it's just like, okay, don't complain if you hear us talking about it because you fed it to us this time. And it's in the national media. So I think Motivated's on to something there for sure.
Yeah, I agree. He reiterated what we were thinking, and with that statement, I'm with you. I 100% agree with you and Motivated, Dedicated.
Yeah. So I want to kind of get back on to the scrimmage talk here, and really want to kind of focus on the offense because we have talked a lot about the defense up to this point. Sounded like Gunner had a really good day, but also I ain't gonna say it's a bigger takeaway, but I think it's a really encouraging sign was Puglisi looked good, getting more confident and more comfortable, protected the football. That's another thing. Throughout the spring into the summer, even you were hearing issues with protecting the football, and if you know that is a huge red flag for Kirby Smart's offense. You have to protect the football, and so obviously he threw the one interception, which I mean, again, Ellis Robinson, we've heard that name flash over and over this season so far. Protecting the football is going to be key for him, right? Maximizing the reps that he's given. Obviously, right now is the perfect time for that, and so hearing that I think was a really good thing. Just protecting the football, obviously, kind of righting the ship there, and also keep in mind he threw a 10-yard touchdown to Elias. So I'm looking at that in a situation where Elias, I mean, you've got tight ends out the wazoo in that room. And, Ellis, Elias, you could be looking at maybe part of the 2 deep there, depending on how you look at it.
Did you see the picture of him as well that was floating around?
He is freaking massive.
Holy smokes.
Massive.
He's going to be an animal.
No, I mean, I'll tell you another thing. So the Georgia football account took a little montage video and posted it earlier today. I don't know if you saw that floating around. What had me going was the deep shot to Colby Young from Gunner. And dude, that pass was beautiful. And he was covered, but we've talked about this over and over, almost ad nauseum. If you've been listening with us throughout this time with the No Football, it's just having that big bodied receiver that can go up and catch footballs, man, 50-50 balls. It's that right there is a perfect example of it, especially when you're looking at our secondary. I'm impressed with our secondary. For you to go up and get the 50-50 ball, come down with it. That's something we didn't have last season. And knock on wood, if you hear this again, but it's regurgitating what the problems we had last season and how we're trying to move away from them this season. And as Fox Mulder says, Stockton's stock. Try saying that 5 times fast. On the rise.
Yeah, listen, and it should be. I think Gunner, like we've said a lot, and that's one of the question marks, obviously, is the quarterback play. But I think Gunner's going to be fine. And if he's hitting deep balls on our secondary, he can hit a deep ball in any secondary in the nation.
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, my thing is this. I would prefer Stockton's stock to be on the rise, but keep it hush-hush, right? Because I want him to hit that national scene and hit it running. That's just I'm going to speak for myself. Caleb, feel free to jump in if you need to, but that's where I'm at with it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, Motivated also says he heard Gunner and Pug both did good, like we just said. I think Pug's improved since the spring. Yeah, no, for sure. Also, another note for the running backs. Roderick is 230, Chauncey's 225. By the way, Chauncey Bowens had himself a day Saturday. And obviously we know Nate Frazier is going to be the guy, but we had that question, who's going to start assert themselves into that running back 2 spot.
And that seems to be a trendy name too.
A little, yeah, no, for sure. It sounds like you've got some work there, right? It sounds like he's been putting in the work there, and that's what you need to see, for sure. So if that's the case, right now, the thing is, I think a lot of people probably wonder about Josh McCray. Sounds like Kirby, when he had talked to the media, it sounds like something maybe sickness related. I'm not entirely too sure, but the one issue is you don't want to be missing fall camp. You just really don't, because you're going to set yourself behind physically in regards to getting into shape. This is prime time to do that and get ready for the season. But outside of that, neither here nor there. Hopefully he's good and situated there. I think another thing too, while we're staying in the running back room, was Nate Frazier. And one of his issues last season was not being able to break tackles, running through arm tackles. And it sounded like, last season there were some serious questions, right? We knew he probably shouldn't have been playing, got forced into the starting role when, with all the injuries and stuff in the running back room. But now you look at year 2, he's had a whole year, had a whole season last year to work through. And so, hearing the fact that he had a nice run, breaking some arm tackles, I think that's another thing that people got to pay attention to. And when you do that, right, again, you're seeing things that we didn't have last season that are becoming what we're seeing right now. And it's all good signs, right? It's all good signs. Yeah, and Nate also had a fumble problem too. Motivated says had a fumble problem too. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, right? You talk about protecting the football. We couldn't run the ball effectively because as soon as we started trying to run something, it fell on the ground. Now, it wasn't even just all Nate. That was receivers too. So that's, oh, by the way, don't know if I heard any missed drops. I don't know if I heard any drops Saturday, like pure drops. I don't think I heard anything about that. So that's good news. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I've been bringing it up the whole time I've been on the show. I've been bringing it up the whole time I've been on the show. That's the main thing I wanted to see cleaned up with the drops. And when you don't hear any drops coming out of the first fall scrimmage, that's always a big sign, because that's your first scrimmage. You're amped up, and you're ready to get out there and hit somebody, and going out there and showing up, showing out, catching the ball, that's always a good sign. And I think if Georgia can clean that up, they're going to be just really dangerous.
For sure. Clyde the Glide Hair says, yeah, if you miss fall camp, it will definitely affect you, and that goes for all teams in college football. I agree with that, for sure. Motivated says, we just need to knock people in the dirt. 12 personnel, run straight ahead. Got you even better. They're motivated. Todd Hartley was talking to the media, was talking about getting a hat from our guy, John Tweet Sports. Shout out there. Run the damn 13 personnel.
Yeah.
just imagine something like that. That'd be some crazy shit, to be honest.
I'm for it though. Honestly.
No, I mean, that's a fact. Let's see. I think another thing too, Roderick Robinson. Feel like we've heard his name slightly, but not as much as Chauncey, not as much as Nate, obviously. What are your thoughts overall on Roderick? Do you think he can assert himself back into a good rotation there? What do you think?
Yeah, if he stays healthy, if we could get a good, healthy season out of him, obviously he's a big back, big bodied guy. I mean, he's probably 230 pounds, like they said, probably 6% body fat.
Probably. I mean, he's
crazy like that.
Yeah, he's definitely chiseled for the most part. Yeah.
You think about something like that, and you get down, especially mid-season, when he hopefully finally. I mean, I know he's going to come into the season healthy, but mid-season when he finally gets that game speed and gets back used to that, try tackling him in the fourth quarter when he's fresh.
You got that, and once McCray gets situated, that's another one. You try to put that duo there. It's going to get.
You got the two.
Even Bowens.
Yeah, so I think you're going to see Roderick sneak his way back in the rotation a little bit. Maybe we just know he's got to stay healthy. Yeah, that's
got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
For sure. Got to stay healthy, man. That's just my thoughts here. Overall, though, from the quarterback, I want to get back to the quarterbacks. It sounded like Puglisi, because they rotated a lot. It sounds like Puglisi actually may have taken more reps than Gunner. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me too, and I have no problem with that. It's like we've said multiple times. If God forbid, but if something were to happen to Gunner, Puglisi's got to be ready, and Puglisi getting that confidence back, as you mentioned earlier, getting those reps in. I think Puglisi's going to be a really good quarterback as well. We know he's gifted. He's got a cannon for an arm. And him taking these reps, he missed all of last season. People tend to forget that. He didn't play at all, not a down, because of an injury. So him getting back into it, like we just mentioned with Roger, with the game speed and making these decisions that he ain't really used to. I mean, really and truly, the last time the dude played football was in high school. So, I mean, he wasn't playing against one of the best defenses in the nation. So I like seeing Puglisi out there. I like seeing him take these first-team reps. And, I mean, if we got two good quarterbacks, that's not a bad problem at all.
No, God, no. I mean, I think we've talked about it as well. Make sure to be ready, right? Just in case, because Gunner likes to run the football. And we've already seen one situation where he got knocked out of the game, so you have to be ready. And so him getting a little bit more reps here is really beneficial. And Clyde says Gunner's got to stay healthy for us. As with most starting quarterbacks, I think everybody would agree here. That's an accurate statement. So, he does. No, he does. We saw that. Also while we're talking about, I know we talked about the Gunner and Puglisi, but Ryan Montgomery looked good too. So him coming off that ACL injury, I thought that was something as well. It sounded like the quarterbacks had not really a bad day at all. I think Gunner could have done better. I think there was things that were wasn't like a great day, wasn't like a horrible day, right? So excuse me. So Seed Vision, I'm going to keep that question. Seed, we will get to that. We're just kind of knocking out some scrimmage stuff now, but we will be talking about the AP poll and where the Dogs are there. Yes. So again, Chauncey Bowens. I think Chauncey Bowens could work his way into a serious rotation with Nate, and I would be completely okay with that. Completely okay with it.
For sure. Like we said, he seemed to have a good day Saturday. He was the one that everybody was hyped about after the spring game as well. Had a really good day, probably the best day of all the best that day. So I'm glad to hear his name. Like I said, he's a young back, so we'll have him for another at least 2 years. So
yeah,
I'm down with
there's another name. We've talked a lot about skill positions. We've talked about the DBs, but there's one position that we haven't talked about. And I'm going to bring up one name specifically because this name is one if you're not familiar with right now, we've got a lot of people watching right now. If you haven't heard of Juan Gaston, get familiar with that name. He's going to play. It's a matter of when, not if. It's a matter of when. Also, the question is, who's he going to take over for? Honestly, there's a chance you could see him take over that right guard spot because it sounds like it was a three-way kind of a rotation with him, Michael Unai, Daniel Calhoun. So they're getting a lot of reps in there at right guard. Obviously, with left guard, you're looking at Michael Morris. I think we're kind of aware of that, right? I think you're comfortable there. Obviously, if Micah needs a breather, I guarantee you if he's not starting, Juan Gaston will probably jump in. Just going to leave that there. Again, true freshman, folks. And I think that speaks volumes with his trajectory in regards to where he's going to do with the program. Speaking of other true freshmen, I want to kind of move to the opposite side of the ball. We're jumping all around over here. But Elijah Griffin making some plays.
We knew that was coming. We've been talking about it like the
Caleb
whole
looking all giddy. Yeah.
Y'all know I'm a big Elijah Griffin fan, so I was happy to see that he had a good game. But I mean, that's been like pretty much expected. Everybody thinks he's going to play and play early, play often. So That was really shocking to me there.
No, I mean, I agree with you there too. Clyde asks, who was the best wide receiver in our scrimmage? I think you go any. There's a multitude of ways you can go here, and I think you wouldn't be wrong. I think for me, what jumps out, I'm looking at Zach Branch, and I think it's because of what he was able to do, not only at the receiver position, but in the kicking game. Broke a long one out, which I don't think special teams get a lot of love, right, for Georgia like that, unless you're looking at Brett Thorson and that punt against Tennessee, but neither here nor there. With return game, it's been a long time. I think Isaiah McKenzie may have been the last one that ran one back. If not, yeah, I think that might be the last kick return, punt return we've had. But nonetheless, I think Zach Branch brings a level of athleticism there to the kick return or punt return game that you ain't had in a while. And so could you see, Caleb, could you see a kick return or a punt return take it back to the house?
This year? Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I think Branch is going to break. I think there's going to be multiple. I think there's going to be more than one. It may be two, but I think there's going to be multiple.
I would love to see one. I think one of the things that we've got to understand, especially in the punt game, was the fair catches. We fair called a lot of stuff. Now, whether that's by design or not, depends on who's back there. I think Kirby will tell them, hey, fair catch this. Just make sure you catch it, secure it. I think Zach Branch, until proven otherwise, he can do the things that you need to do in the return game to elevate the special teams. Keep in mind, special teams was what kind of lost us the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
Now, it was a little bit different. It was a kickoff, not a kickoff return. But Kirby's going to put an emphasis on special teams this season. It cost us that playoff game, not all of it, but it cost us. It played a part. You're going to see an emphasis there. Watch for the return game to try to find a way to, do some things and make things happen. I would have to imagine that's the case.
100%.
Other than that, to kind of continue on that question, right? Colby Young, 50-50 balls, made a touchdown that deep, or I don't know if it was a touchdown, but it was a good completion there. Sokovia White had a nice little touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. You had a bunch of receivers doing some good things, Clyde, for the most part. So if that happens, Caleb, is it a bad thing or good thing if you've got those types of receivers, right? Like, and obviously it's a good thing if you're being successful in the passing game. But would you rather see the wealth being spread out, or would you rather see one focus on it and maybe try to crack Terrence Edwards' record for over 1,000 yards?
I'd rather it be a receiver room by committee, man. Spread the wealth, because then you don't know where the ball's going. You got to focus on everybody. You don't know who you can and can't double team, and if you do double team, somebody else is going to be open. So it's like Georgia's been really for the past forever, honestly. Even back when what's his name was talking about 2022, it wasn't a one man show. It was like,
defensively, it was your unknown defense in that regard, because there's just so many players. Offense, you had Ladd, you had Brock, you could spread it around, But I get your point. My guy Rudes. Coming in with a question. Interested to see if any incoming receivers and running backs have the speed and one ability to be explosive in the return game. Well, I think if outside of Branch, I would watch out for Sokovia. But I think Branch is going to be the guy. I'm not knocking it. If it so be it. If it means Sokovia does some good things too, then cool. I'm not going to turn that down. As Ruth says, distribution of lethality. That's a statement right there. That's a top-notch statement. A really good statement there. Talon Taylor. Talon Taylor was another receiver. Couple plays, gets open, catches the ball, right? Got to use the physicality, though. But I think as you get through that freshman year, this is, It's a big time thing. So you get that you learn that physicality, and go from there. I think sticking with receivers, dude. Jaden Riddell's going to be fun to watch. He's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait for that. Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts before we move over to this AP poll?
Not really. It's just like I said, the main thing was there were no significant injuries. Everybody stayed healthy. It was a good scrimmage. But I think a lot of people got that kind of gist of it because Georgia went from the number 3 team in the betting favorite odds to the number 2. I don't know if you saw that, but I think a lot of people kind of hearing it.
That's worth noting. Yeah, that's worth noting. Other than that, though, man, like first scrimmage, extremely pleased with the defensive performance. I think that was something that we needed to see. I think Kirby wanted to test the defense. Sounds like they stood up to the challenge. That's going to matter. Any major changes in how they are practicing? Kirby trying anything new? Well, I'm telling you, the blue caps, I think that's sticking around. It's doing some good things. Roots with that question. So far we've seen JJ Hane was wearing one. Speak of the devil. So you had Hane wearing it. You had CJ Allen. You've had Drew Bobo, Gunnar Stockton. I think that's noteworthy. I think that's who your vocal leaders are going to be on this team, offensive, defensive. We'll see what that translates to. Rudes also said a lot of running was the last thing he heard previously. I think he's going to want these guys into shape. And I think, with the overall dynamic of this team, it's not a veteran, lackadaisical approach. I think all these guys are hungry because they don't have anything to their name now, if you think about it. So they don't have any type of thing to you've got everything to prove right now. You don't have 2 titles. You don't, that's why I think that can matter, especially with feeding the hunger for this team. I think it's going to matter, and just making sure that they stay hungry. They ain't got shit to prove. And I think Kirby's going to reiterate that to them over and over, knowing Kirby Smart, by the way. That's what's about to happen. But yeah, I think other than that, though, right, offense, if we look ahead, right, I think previewing this second scrimmage real quick, what do you want to see moving forward to the second scrimmage? Because I think that's the most important scrimmage that we're having.
I think the main thing I'd want to see in the second scrimmage is no turnovers. I want to see the quarterbacks, like you said, protect the ball. I know there's only 2 interceptions in the game, 1 by each, but I want to see that cut down. I want to see no turnovers, and that's about it. I know the defense did their thing, and I know they're going to make it tough on the offense not to throw an interception because our DBs and linebackers are crazy. So I'd like to see the offense step up and kind of push back.
I feel confident at all as it stands right now, and I'm trying to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm feeling confident at all the levels of our defense right now, all 3 levels.
So
I need to see that consistency, though, moving forward to the next Saturday. I want to see who separates themselves in the edge rushing department. I think you're looking at Gabe Harris being one of the guys, but is it going to be Quintavious? Are you looking at, who are you looking at? Are you looking at LO? What's the situation going to be like? Because after Saturday, I think that's when the depth chart starts to get formed. So that's going to matter. So having a good performance Saturday could go a long way to deciding, those answers, right? Just, determining the answers for those questions that we're bringing up. Offensively, I want to see us, kind of take it to the defense, right? I just get that feeling I just want to see that back and forth, good competition, right? Keep in mind when you're scrimmaging each other, there's always a good and a bad, right? If someone does good, that means someone else got beat. So you have to take that approach to it and understand the offense got their butt handed to them to start off. They got moving toward the end, right, as things picked up. But I want to see the offense take it to the defense and see how the defense responds to that adversity, right? See how they overcome that. See what happens. But outside of that, I would imagine I just want to see, what it looks like. If there's a rep share, what is that going to be determining, right? Like, obviously the same questions, running back room, who's going to be RB2? Edge rusher, who's going to look like that? Is Ellis Robinson making enough of a move to try to take over Daniel Harris? Don't know. Want to see it. Now, there's a lot of these questions. Rudes has a question. Has an alpha vocal leader risen up yet? If anybody, I would probably say CJ Allen on the defense. And low-key, I would imagine like a Drew Bobo on offense. I think he's becoming that leader on offense. Would you have expected that last season? Probably not. In regards to the beard care routine, see, this is the top-notch questions we get with Rudes, man. Honestly, I hadn't done nothing to it. Might be the diet or something. I don't know. The lighting. This at Bojangles, man. Got that little glisten. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But no. Yeah, these are the kind of questions we can get. Rudes will throw that at you, man. He'll throw anything at you. No, I think now to your point, if Drew Bobo is your vocal leader, don't take that the wrong way. If you're listening, if you're watching, that's not a bad thing. Coach's son, listen, bust his ass on the field. Like, if you go back to last season when he took over for Jared Wilson in the games he was out, the effort is completely there. Now you're giving him an offseason to be the guy, and he understands. So I would like to imagine he's going to be one of those guys where he's going to hold down the offense, and you need that. You need him to be smart. You need him to be that leader, especially at the center position, right? Y'all remember Cedric Van Pran. He maybe not have been as athletic as Jared Wilson or anything like that. The IQ was there, and his leadership was there. And that matters a whole hell of a lot. So that's just where I'm at with that. We move on. The AP poll drops about noon today. And we're going to break down this. I want to see what your thoughts are. Did the AP get it right? We're going to break it down. So here's your top 25. So to number 1, you've got Texas. Penn State at 2. Ohio State, obviously the Texas-Ohio State matchup now is a 1 versus 3 matchup. Clemson at 4. I said this earlier. I thought it was 4. I misspoke. Georgia at 5. Sorry. I stand corrected, folks. Ridicule me if you will. Georgia at 5. Notre Dame at 6. Oregon, 7. Rounding out the top 10. Alabama, LSU, Miami. Arizona State at 11. Illinois at 12. South Carolina 13, Michigan 14, top 15 team, Billy Napier and the Florida Gators? What? 16 SMU, 17 Kansas State, 18 Oklahoma, folks, A&M at 19, Indiana is at 20, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Texas Tech at 23, Tennessee, them good old Volunteers at 24, Boise State rounding out the top 25. I'm gonna open this question, and I got to do this because this makes sense. Florida ranked, which is going to lead into this. Which team is overhyped in this list? Which one is? Are we seeing any overhyped lists here?
Yeah, there's a few for sure. Starting with Florida. I mean, I think Florida's talented. I think Florida's going to be a pretty good team, but their schedule is just so brutal that their season could be over before October starts. I mean, they play LSU and Miami in September. So, also, I know Arizona State got Sam Levitt returning and all that good stuff. Cam Scatterbo was really the train that made that team go, and that's really true. I still think LSU is a little overhyped too. I know a lot of people are riding that train until Brian Kelly shows me something. I think LSU is a little high. Now I know a lot of them have them consensus top 10, but I'm not sold on them quite yet. And then I don't think Penn State should be number 2 either. I don't mind them at 3, but I think Ohio State should be ranked ahead of Penn State.
So Rude says start with number 1. That's funny. I do have this question, right? Texas is a really good football team, but my question is, why are they number one? Like, what? I would love to know the logic to put them number one. And I think you look at Penn State. You've got returning both running backs. You've got Drew Aller coming back. The defense, yes, you did lose Abdul Carter and whatnot, but I still think it's going to be a solid defense. The unknowns are less with Penn State than both Ohio State and Texas, even though Ohio State, really the true question mark there is your quarterback with Julian Sand, and also when you look at it, defensive coordinator, right? So, yes, I can understand the unknowns there for Ohio State. Although they're the national champions, in my opinion, I would put them Ohio State at number one simply because you got to beat them to take away the number one spot. And honestly, outside of that, I'd put maybe Penn State at two. I know it sounds high, but again, it's the preseason, and you're going off of right who has less unknowns. And so Drew Aller, you can say what you will, but he's a seasoned quarterback. The running game could easily carry that team through the Big Ten into the championship game. Could easily do it. Not saying they will, but they could. But then obviously Ohio State at three. I could honestly see a case for Clemson at two. I think I made a little quick AP poll, and I had Clemson at two and Penn State at three. And the reason being, Clemson with Klubnik, Clemson with Antonio Williams, Clemson with that defense, they are a very seasoned team across the board. And so if you're wanting to talk about unknowns, Clemson has very little of those. Now, I think that there is one serious one, and that's their running game, right? Because, Phil Maffa was that type of guy for them last season. Yeah. But running game, obviously it's important. But if that is your unknown, and you've got a good front seven, you've got a seasoned quarterback, you've got Antonio Williams, which I think is going to be he should, if he's not already, he will be in the Biletnikoff talks come season end if he's healthy. So Clemson, in my little AP poll, I had them at two behind Ohio State. I had Georgia at four. I put Texas. I think it was Texas at three, but I get it. Arch Manning is probably the reason why they're number one there, even though he hasn't done everything that you would need. The hype is real, and I think when you look at that situation right there, I want to ask you this question too. Out of these top 25, who has the most pressure on them as we move into the season?
I think it's going to be – I think it's Alabama. I think Alabama always has the most pressure on them because of the success they've had in the last 20 or 15 – not 15 – about 16, 17 years. And they went, 9-3 last year, missed the playoffs. You got to get back to that, or DeBoer is going to hear chatter regardless of if it's true or not. And I just think you're Alabama, you're the standard of college football. I think they got the most pressure because I think if they miss the playoffs, you're going to start hearing people not take Bama as serious as they should be taken, and that could be a problem.
Like there should not be a reason why they don't make the playoffs this season. I think you're on par with that. Also, Alabama just named earlier tonight, Ty Simpson is officially their starting quarterback, which I don't think that should come as any surprise. Rude says Texas to stay number one, in his opinion, is so much hype last year too. SEC runs through Texas, right? Yeah, no, we know that's a lie right now. It's also, I saw Brandon Adams, shout out BA, was talking about Georgia being ranked behind two teams that they beat 3 times last season, one being twice, and averaging 13-point victories in the 3 games. Obviously, Clemson to start the season and beat Texas twice. I'm not going to be on that horse as much, right? Because last season it was a completely different team. But nonetheless, I get the logic on it. But if I'm choosing a team that has a lot of pressure, I'm looking at Miami, because Miami's got a tough start there, because you're looking at a 6 versus 10 matchup for them to start the season. So, and you got 15 if you want to look at Billy Napier there. So I think that's leading into it. I think the Florida schools have some pressure on them. Listen, Florida State's not in this top 25. Miami is, Florida is. Florida's got a gauntlet. And if you're sitting there and telling me that Florida, if Florida struggles to make it 6-6 or 5-7 or 7-5, and they were a preseason top 15, you're going to look at those fan bases and they're going to be having some serious fucking questions. Like, what happened? Like, if Lagway stays healthy and you still struggle to get close to bowl, if you can struggle to make a bowl game or you make a bowl game, but it's close, right? There's going to be some serious questions. I think the Florida fan base would be justified to ask Billy Napier what the hell happened. Now, if injuries happen, right, we understand that happens, but still, you've got a preseason top 15 roster. You better make something out of it. I guarantee you that's what the Florida Gator fans are talking about right now.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think if he goes anywhere under 8-4, he may be looking for a new job.
Especially with the hype on the preseason right now.
Yeah.
I think another one too. I got two more on this list. One, I'm looking at Michigan, trying to understand why Michigan. You've got Justice Haynes, which to me hasn't really panned out yet. We'll see what happens. The move to Michigan could change some things. We'll see. Obviously, Bryce Underwood expected to be the starter at Michigan. We'll see what that happens. I think Michigan could do some good things, right? The reason why I say that is I don't trust, they do play Oklahoma, but outside of that, their conference schedule, outside of Ohio State, I think they play Oregon and Penn State, maybe one of the two. I think they've got a manageable schedule. I just don't necessarily agree with preseason why they're 14. Or is it brand? I don't know. And then the last one to me, this just feels purchased, and that's Texas Tech. Like, we know you paid for that roster, and that's okay. It's free game. We know this shit. We're not sitting here busting your balls over that. But the justification for top 20, top 25 being at number 23, there's some serious questions going to be pulled up on Texas Tech. You've got an opportunity to take advantage of the Big 12, right? Arizona State did that last season, came from projection being dead last to win the Big 12 and actually make it fairly deep into the playoffs, might I add too. You're looking at if we're looking at the Big 12, right? You've got three schools there. You've got Arizona State. Oh, so 4, excuse me. Because you got Arizona State right at 11. I think Sam Levitt and the receiving corps will be fine. Rudes also says $25 million for their recruiting class alone. Yeah, that's not what you paid for in the portal either, though. But Arizona State, you got Kansas State with Avery Johnson, a seasoned Avery Johnson, might I add to. Iowa State could be interesting with Matt Campbell there. Obviously, we know Texas Tech. It could go either way, the Big 12. So it'll shake out. But if you had to choose, I'm going to ask this question to you. If you had to choose the Big 12, who wins? Is it any one of these 4 or is it somebody else? Because that conference is one of the most unknown conferences.
If I had to choose, I was actually talking about this earlier in my chat. If I had to choose, I don't know I'm leaning Kansas State. I like Kansas State, but I think they're playing Texas Tech in the championship game.
You're thinking Kansas State and Texas Tech.
Yeah, and Kansas State wins.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this. I love what Dillingham's doing at Arizona State. I just don't know if in year 2 if he can sustain it. Scatabo was a big deal, so I need to see what they can do to replicate that. But I can see Texas Tech making something happen. But I think it's a team that's off this list that isn't getting the hype. And I think you could be looking at a team like a BYU or a TCU. I like
BYU. I don't know about TCU, but I like BYU.
The one question I have is the quarterback situation, right? The guy leaving in the portal. But nonetheless, I think BYU could be a sleeper team there. Baylor could be interesting. I mean, if Baylor pulls off a win at home against Auburn to start the season. One, you're going to see us have some fucking fun on this show.
Man, boy, I'm going go Bears, baby.
But two, that could easily catapult them into some conversations with, hey, there might be some potential for them to win the Big 12. Like the Big 12 is so hard to really gauge because it feels so open, right? Like if Caleb, if you picked Arizona State or you picked Iowa State, I wouldn't say you're crazy for it. Now, if you picked Washington to win the Big 10, I'm gonna look at you like you got something wrong with you. You see what I'm saying? Like Big 12 is wide open. I'm looking at Miami. This is a put up or shut up year, in my opinion, for Crystal Ball. You went and paid a ton of money for Carson Beck. I wish him well, right? I'm not going to sit here and bash Carson Beck. I'm not going to do that. I wish him well. But you ain't got the easiest slate, especially at non-con. With Notre Dame, you still got Florida. If Florida holds true, that could be a real dicey game too. And so, you've got Carson Beck, right? You lose Restrepo. So I don't necessarily know what the receiving core is going to look like. We'll find out quick against Notre Dame because I expect Notre Dame to look at your receivers and say, good luck getting off of the coverage. I'm just going to leave that there. So there's some serious pressure, I think, for Miami too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Miami had it in the bag last year and just fumbled it. That was baby. Coach Brown.
It's not my problem, but it was wild to watch that collapse.
It was, not to mention they lost to Virginia Tech too, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I know what you mean. For sure, though. But yeah, AP poll done and over with. Georgia at 5. Dog man, what's going on? Welcome in. Any final thoughts on these scrimmages, the AP poll, before we make our announcement for the show and send everybody home?
Nah, man, we're just 2 Saturdays away from football. So
2 Saturdays. It's crazy to think.
This is the last Saturday without football, ain't it?
Yes, because you have week 0. Keep in mind, with the AP poll just dropped, you have a ranked matchup in Ireland with Kansas State, Iowa State.
I'm ready for it.
Week zero, the Big 12 is going to have some answers talking about it already.
And
I'm not mad about that.
0 too? Or they play.
Do they? Stanford Hawaii.
Yeah.
Stanford Hawaii. So I do want to. We have a couple of announcements. First things first. There will be no show next week. This guy is going on vacation, so we're going to go on a nice little family vacay. I'm going to look into possibly trying to find an alternative with regards to some kind of content. I don't think it's going to be video content or podcast content. It might be on our social media or something like that. Might do some kind of X space potentially or something. We'll see. I think if anything, it'll not be Monday. So it might be maybe week 0. Might do something week 0, the morning of. So keep that in mind. Put that down. Just be on the lookout. Make sure you're following us at the DGD podcast on X. Make sure to go follow us, and that way you get notifications. But Dog Nation, we've got something brand new for this upcoming season, and it's for the fans who love a little extra action on college football Saturdays. And that, we're calling it 3 and Out. Here's how it works. Every Wednesday, our preview show, each Wednesday during the season, me, Caleb, and Keon will each give one pick for the week's slate of college football games. So we're going to go through all the games, and we're going to take the 3 picks, go into one single parlay. We're going to put one single parlay, 3 legs. Each of us have a say in that parlay. We're going to do $10 each week, and we're going to place it right here on the show. That way you can see we're putting our money where our mouth is. Right here on the show live every Wednesday. If it hits, we move the chains. Keep building momentum up. If it misses, well, you know what happens. We go 3 and out. We'll track our wins, losses, and we'll keep up with bragging rights all season long too. And the best part, hey, you can either ride with us or you can fade us. That's up to you though. First parlay will be dropping August 27th on our Wednesday show previewing Marshall. Mark your calendars. Hey, 3 and Out's officially part of the DGD podcast lineup this season. Let's cash some tickets. Let's have some fun this year. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, you know, I do a little bit of gambling myself. It's legal down here in Florida, so I have a good time with it. So I'm really in depth in it. I actually go in. I do some studying for the gambling. I do a pretty good job, especially football and college basketball wise. Baseball is kind of hard to gauge at times, but I'm excited for that, man. And the logo, I mean the overlay, the whatever you want to call it, is super clean, dude. That was super clean.
No, for sure. I thought it was something that's going to put a little bit of different energy to this show this season. All right, we've always done. And by the way, our game day picks, that's not changing. We're going to continue to do that. We're gonna shake it up a little bit, simplify it. Right, simplify it. So I'll break that down as well. Each week, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the podcast, each week during the season, we all look and we do a 10 game spread of games that we do our picks for. So this season, what we're doing is we're taking the 10 games, you're picking it, and if you get it, you get a point, and we're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to make it super simple, super easy, but we also need your help. Make sure to follow us on social media. The Sunday morning after each week, we drop our polls. And so you have a limited time to select who you think will win, because the brigade will also be playing for the games too. So it's me, it's Caleb, it's Keon, it's the brigade, and we're going head to head all season long. The only difference is rivalry week, where we're going to have 15 games to go off of. There's too many rivalries in rivalry week, and I mean there's some big ones. So looking forward to these segments during the season. I can't wait for it. Bring it back. Football is back, Caleb. It's back. It's back. But make sure to tune in on Wednesdays, because we're going to give you our picks for the game. And it's only going to be 3, right? So keep in mind, we're only doing 3. But we're going to put our skin in the game. And so whether you want to follow us, whether you want to fade us, that's up to y'all. But we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And we're either going to win some money, we're going to lose some money. Hopefully we don't. Well, I mean, if you wash, you wash. But hopefully we don't lose money. Our goal is to make the most money for y'all too. So I'm already thinking about it. I'm already thinking about what game I want to choose. I got a couple options if depending on how they go. But
I already got mine 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stick around to see which games we pick too. We'll have to see what happens though. I'm kind of, Caleb, to be honest, I'm debating if I want to make layups or do I want to try to shoot threes at times.
Well, I think when it goes to that, sometimes you got to just go with your gut and take the value pick. Like if it's when we're talking Clemson, LSU, somebody like that, sometimes you just got to be like, if it's close like that, sometimes you got to take the dog.
Now keep in mind, if for those that may not understand how the parlay works, if one of those misses, then we lose money. But guess what's going to happen, Caleb? We're going to track whether each pick hits or misses. So if people use our stuff and you lose money, at least you know who to look at if you follow our picks. I'm just saying, if you look at our legs, it's going to be coded to where if you misses, we're going to know who missed. All right, so that's what's going to make this a little bit. Listen, accountability is key. And so if you miss and say, like, if Keon misses and me and Caleb hit, y'all point the finger and get on to Keon. But at the same time, listen, I'll take the criticism too if I miss and the other two hit. Now, if we all miss, just give us shit for all I care. We deserve it at that point. We deserve it at that point. Anyways, that's all we've got for tonight's show. Again, no show next week. Regardless, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, share this out to folks with the season starting. If you've got some gambler folks, you just heard what we were just talking about here, let them know too. Let's try to help everybody out. We're going to try to make money. We want you to make money. Like I said, follow us or fade us. The choice is yours. But like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Do the due diligence. Just take that extra second. Hit that like button. Subscribe, rate us, review us if you've got an extra couple seconds. It appreciate it a ton. It means a lot to us, right? Reading the reviews, things like that. If we suck, let us know. I guess I'd love the 5-star review, but hey, if we ain't good, let me know. Okay, I'll keep it quiet. You know what I'm saying? Caleb, any final thoughts before we wrap this stuff up?
Man, it's almost football season. That's all I can keep thinking about.
That's a fucking fact. Guys, that's all we've got for you. Second scrimmage coming up. We'll try to keep up with that. Look, that's a big one. But with that being said, that's all we got for you. Catch y'all next time. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.